Have you ever had dreams you just couldn't forget? That were too real to forget? I have. Everything in this video are dreams I have had. We begin at the age of 4. I had recently moved into my new home with my family. One night, I fell into a deep sleep and dreamed about my backyard. It truly was my backyard, from the side of the house to the woodline, where I was walking. As I enter the woods, a sense of adventure takes me, and I pursue the unknown. The farther I go, the more I could see an open sky on the other side. Near to me was an old rusty wire fence along the trees. I followed alongside it until I came to a cliffside where the woods ended, and standing beneath a tall pine, I looked out at a never-ending meadow with grass a particular shade of green that for some reason I doubt exists. To my right, there are ice-capped mountains and a waterfall. Beyond that, I don't know. Again, the same dream, but another night. It began in my backyard. I walked into the woods, same as before. But the further I explore, the more the woods began changing. There was no meadow at the end, because the end had changed. Instead, there was an opening in the woods, sunlight beaming down from the canopy, and a small cottage in the middle of it all. Birds chirping, a well to the left, and a road to the right. An old woman lived here. She was very kind. The context of this dream is unknown. One night, I dreamt I was in my front yard. The sky was black as ebony, and the land a silhouette. But in the woods, there was a misty, indigo light engulfing the darkness beneath the treetops. All throughout the woods, this light was spread. It was neither bright nor dim. There were no sounds, except for the leaves crunching beneath my feet as I walked through the indigo woods. I come across a wolf. The animal had no intent to harm me. It only watched me and continued to sniff around. I passed it by. What happened next fades from my memory, but the last thing I recollect about this dream in particular was walking down a spiral corridor likened to a tower of a castle, but there were no windows. I sensed I was underground, but I couldn't tell. Present in that same tower was the indigo light, and then the dream faded away until I opened up a door and found myself on a beach listening to waves crash against the shore. Nothing out of the ordinary. The door was gone. The light was also gone. I was in a sunny environment, but felt no heat. I heard the wind, but felt nothing cool against my skin. And at last, before the dream ended, I saw there in the sand not too far from where I stood, life-size Tonka trucks. And that was all. In this dream, I stand in front of my mirror speaking to someone I feel as if I've known forever, yet have never met. I turn to look at myself in the mirror. When I look, I didn't see a girl. I was boy-like, and yet still myself. Again, I leave the backyard and enter the woods. Here I meet someone. He was no taller than I am. The boy was particularly slim, wore a black leather jacket with denim pants. As I walked through the woods, I looked up and I saw him sitting casually on a tree limb against the trunk. He spoke to me as a friend, and I spoke the same. He came down, and we walked together, talking as if we did this all the time. But this wouldn't be the last I'd see of him, though the dream was over. I opened my eyes as if I were really there. The faint screaming and panic of people filled my ears. I looked, and in a vague blur, I could see them all running and leaping over me. Not a single person caring to help. In that moment, I felt as if I were lying in a street, dying, but I wasn't sure. I felt no pain, but I was fatigued. I turned my head towards the blaze, where everyone was running from, and from the fire, the same boy that walked with me in the woods came towards me with urgency. He wore all gray with a blue hat. His eyes were filled with worry. He knelt down beside me, hardly blocking the blaze from my view. His voice was like thunder, and his demeanor showed he cared when others didn't. With his thundering voice, his words echoed into me, and he said, "You're going to be okay." I believed him and turned my head to the sky, watching everything fade to black until there was nothing left. No sound, no smell, nothing. This same boy returned in another dream, but it was when I least expected him to. In a meadow, a silver stream flowed down a large hill. Flowers growing around it, scarcely any trees, though there were few. Scattered nearby the stream were playground tunnels made of cement. They were weathered with vines growing on them. I climbed inside, feeling lost. I recall saying to myself, "Where is everyone?" This feeling, for some strange reason, brought about a feeling that someone I knew had died and left me. Without thinking about it, I began sobbing uncontrollably. Out of the corner of my eye, I see something move, and I glance over. Climbing in beside me was this same boy. He wasn't concerned or worried. He smiled, and for no reason at all, leaned in and kissed me. I felt it as though it really happened. This confused me because I believed it was real. It felt real. His hair was blonde, and his eyes were blue. But for some reason, his hair reminded me of white gold. His eyes were gentle to look at. Everything happened so quickly. After the kiss, I awoke, the dream still feeling intact, but faded as the day went on. This dream is different from that one. I was lying in total darkness, feeling nothing beneath me. I looked over and saw this same boy weeping beside me. The indigo light I'd seen in the woods shone vaguely around him, and only him. Enough to where I could make out the silhouette of his face and his expression. I couldn't do anything but watch him and listen. He wept at my side. What he spoke through his sorrow was, "I'm so sorry." I dreamt again, but this dream frightened me and deeply saddened me. A friend of mine sat beside me on a bench. Without warning, they rose up and began to walk away. I tried to understand. It felt unnatural. I called out, "Where are you going?" I wanted them to come back and explain. I wanted to know. But no matter what words came from me, they didn't turn around, not once, and kept walking away. I was alone, sad and scared. I fell to my knees heartbroken when from seemingly nowhere, these 10-foot tall people covered in the finest gold from head to toe surrounded me. I felt that they were keeping me from my friend, but I realized that was my thoughts. What was really happening was these gold giants were there to reassure me all would be all right. Not long after that dream took place, the event unfolded in real life. There weren't giants made of gold, but the pain was there, and my shame more so. This dream filled me once again with grief. The boy from my other dreams wasn't here with me, but instead an effeminate being who was my guide. I awake, and I am in a place with no floor nor ceiling. The atmosphere that surrounded me, however, was of yellow ochre and clouds of gray. I look ahead and see the most amazing yet mysterious machine I'd ever laid eyes on. We were the only two there. The guide looked to me and said, "Are you ready?" To which I assume I said yes. From then on, the dream grew more intense. Energies whirred and blared all around me, some overtaking me completely. Part of me thought I was dying, that this was the end. But the more these energies grew in intensity, the more I realized, no, I'm not dying. Whatever this is, it's going to be okay. Not long after this, the energies reached an immense high. I thought I was going to explode, but then, all of a sudden, silence, as if it never happened to begin with. I opened my eyes and beheld myself floating through the void. "Is this space?" I asked. To which my guide replied, "Yes, it is." And we traveled together for a moment until we were once again in my backyard near the same wood line. Why is it always this place? I reach into my pocket and pull out 2 tokens, a blue owl and a brown owl. What this means to me, I still don't know. My guide led me to the woods, and we made a right. Along that trail, we came to a place open ahead, a ruin of some kind. Ivy running up the walls, bushes, but past that were the sounds of laughter, joyful tears, and conversations of happiness I've never heard. I entered this place with hope. My guide had disappeared. I looked around at all the faces, young and old, meeting each other as if for the first time, or even after separation. With that same hope, I waited for someone who I assumed to be my father. The more I walked through what started to look like a terminal in an airport, the more gradual my despair began to set in. I looked over the railing into nothing but a sky with rolling clouds, no ground to walk on. And there in that center of a joyful place, I became grief, knowing that no one was coming to see me. No one was there. And I was alone. In my backyard again. It's night. I look up and behold 6 moons in the sky. There's a garden where I'm standing that was never there before in my waking life. An ominous sound fills my ears and a feeling of dread comes over me. I hear motors approaching. There are men I'd seen in previous dreams before, where I am there in that same place, and they're looking for me. The men drove silver motorcycles, donning silver armor, and swords on their side. I hid from them. In my past dreams, they'd managed to take me hostage. For what reason, that is unknown to me. They came once more and searched for me, though I don't know why. Once it was over, I ran away. I am with someone in this dream, once again, and we are leaving what seems to be a trailer home, stepping out on a wood porch to look out at something. I see a black silhouette of the land before me and a starry sky above that. I look to my friend who is trying to get my attention. He points up to the sky and says, "Look there." I do. What I see above is something beautiful and haunting. The clouds are shifting swiftly past a full blue moon. The cloud disperses, creating a face on the moon's body. A face which began to sing, a haunting song that echoed all around me. Everything else grew silent. All I could hear was the voice of a moon singing a somber tune, opera-like. Its beauty was chilling to me. Once she stopped singing, the face was gone, and the dream had ended. I awoke believing I'd actually heard this song. It stayed in my head and became quickly forgotten the more I went about my day. Still now I remember the first few notes and the last, but what was in between, I forget. A friend of mine and I are standing in a place similar to the yellow ochre atmosphere with its gray clouds, where the guide and I were in front of a marvelous machine. But here, that machine wasn't there, except there were stairs and an arch. Standing beneath the arch was a pregnant woman. My friend and I aren't looking to one another. The woman speaks to us in a soft voice and says, "Don't worry, this timeline will not exist." Still, I don't know what it meant. After that, I began to see images fading in and out consistently. The first was of my friend in a picture. This picture is chilling for some reason. The image is blurred, and they are holding up a picture of something, but I can't tell what it is. One thing I noticed, even in all that blur, was that their hair was longer, which was odd. That image of them faded away. The next image that appeared showed a man covering his face with his hands. This I recognized as turmoil or guilt. I didn't recognize that as my friend, though. That image, too, faded away, and that dream was also over. This, I am about to tell you, will be the last entry for this dream journal. The last vivid dreams I remember are these. My friend appears to me. This time, they're throwing up. I rush over to them, fear holding fast that they don't want my help. But to my surprise, I help them up, and they don't put up a fight. I help them walk, and they steadily reach their arm around my waist. I can tell they feel unwell. I lead them back to their home and sit with them. Their eyes are weary, almost sad. They wouldn't speak. When I tried to ask what was wrong, they handed me a pill bottle with a strange word on it, and it read, Elita Sur Prim. Nothing I'd ever heard of. I still think this dream was incredibly vague, and the context of what it could mean is unknown. And yet this same friend, in a dream quite similar to this, came with me to my home for Christmas. For some reason, I was upset. My friend looked lost, in a daze, while everyone sat around us talking about movies and several irrelevant things. I was caught in my own feelings. I get up and I walk out of the room in disappointment. As I walk away to my old room, I feel tired and sick, out of breath. I sense someone behind me gaining up on me, but I don't look to see who it is. I make it to my room just before collapsing, and it feels like my iron is low, even though I'm in a dream. So low that my fainting spells are getting worse. I realize that the person behind me was my friend. They caught me and knelt down, holding me close to them. Their voice is gentle, and they say to me, "Are you okay?" I think to say something, but I never did. I tried to regain my consciousness first. I opened my eyes and didn't see their face, but I saw their body and knew it was them. I began to feel so sick. I reach out for them and I can feel my hand touching their arm. And it is so realistic. It just had to be. I had to ask myself, however, is this a dream or not? Before waking, I asked myself in this person's arms, why is it always you I dream about? One thing that stands out to me the most is the indigo light around them, neither bright nor dim. It is simply there. And that concludes this dream journal. I hope to tell you more of my dreams another time. Thank you for listening. Pleasant dreams to you all. Bye for now.